Most men go to bed with their minds racing, and they wonder why they wake up exhausted. They scroll through their phones until their eyes burn. They replay every mistake from the day. They worry about tomorrow before it even arrives. And when sleep finally comes, it comes reluctantly, like a guest who knows they are not truly welcome. I spent years living this way, and I learned something that changed everything. The last thoughts you think before sleep are not just thoughts. They are seeds. And most people are planting weeds in the garden of their own consciousness. There is a quiet tragedy happening in millions of bedrooms every night. Men and women lie down after a day of constant stimulation, mental noise, and emotional exhaustion, and they expect their minds to simply turn off like a machine. But the mind does not work that way. The mind is not a switch. It is a recording device. It captures everything you feed it in those final moments before consciousness fades. And what most people feed it is poison, worry, resentment, regret, comparison, the harsh voice of self-criticism, the endless replay of conversations that went wrong, the mental preparation for battles that may never come. I have seen this pattern destroy more potential than any external enemy ever could, because the real war is not out there. It is inside. It is the war between the person you could become and the person your thoughts are programming you to remain. And that war is won or lost in the minutes before you close your eyes each night. Let me be direct with you. If you go to bed thinking about everything that went wrong today, your subconscious mind will spend the next 8 hours reinforcing those patterns. If you go to bed worrying about what might go wrong tomorrow, you are training your nervous system to expect disaster. If you go to bed replaying arguments, failures, or moments of shame, you are literally rehearsing a life you do not want to live. This is not philosophy. This is how the mind works. And most people are completely unaware that they are programming themselves for dissatisfaction every single night. The modern world has made this worse. We live in an age of constant distraction, endless comparison, and manufactured urgency. Every notification is designed to hijack your attention. Every advertisement is engineered to make you feel inadequate. Every scroll through social media is a silent auction where you bid your peace of mind for a few seconds of shallow stimulation. And then we wonder why we cannot sleep. We wonder why anxiety has become the default state. We wonder why depression is rising faster than ever before in human history. I am not here to give you another sleep hack or breathing technique. I am here to tell you something far more important. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts. And the quality of your thoughts is most vulnerable in 2 moments: when you wake up and when you go to sleep. Most people surrender both of these moments to randomness, to whatever emotion happens to be loudest, to whatever worry happens to be most persistent. And then they are surprised when their lives feel random, chaotic, and out of control. There is an enemy inside your own mind. It does not want you to succeed. It does not want you to be at peace. It feeds on fear, doubt, and confusion. And its favorite time to attack is right before you sleep, because it knows that is when your defenses are lowest. That is when you are tired, when your willpower is depleted, when you are most likely to believe the lies it tells you. Lies like you are not good enough. You will never change. Everyone else has it figured out except you. Tomorrow will be just as hard as today. These are not truths. These are attacks. And if you do not learn to defend yourself in those final moments before sleep, you will wake up defeated before your day even begins. The consequences of losing this battle are not small. When you go to bed with a mind full of chaos, you wake up with a body full of tension. Your sleep becomes shallow, your dreams become anxious, your rest becomes incomplete. And over time, this creates a cycle of exhaustion that no amount of coffee or willpower can fix. You start to feel like you are always behind, always tired, always struggling just to keep up. And the worst part is, you blame external circumstances. You blame your job, your responsibilities, your schedule. But the real problem is internal. It is mental. It is the fact that you are allowing your mind to run wild in the moments when it should be finding peace. I learned this lesson the hard way. For years, I went to bed with my mind full of everything I had not accomplished, every conversation I wished I had handled differently, every goal that still felt impossibly far away. And I wondered why I felt so anxious, why my energy was so low, why progress felt so slow. It was not until I changed what I thought about before sleep that everything else began to change. And I mean everything. My mood improved, my decisions became clearer, my relationships deepened, my work became more focused. And it all started with one simple shift. I stopped letting my last thought of the day be random. I started choosing it deliberately. Here is what most people do not understand. Your subconscious mind does not judge your thoughts. It does not filter them. It simply accepts whatever you give it and works to make it real. If you give it worry, it creates more situations to worry about. If you give it gratitude, it finds more reasons to be grateful. If you give it a vision of who you want to become, it begins to move you in that direction. But if you give it nothing, if you just let your mind wander through fear and frustration until you pass out from exhaustion, then you are programming yourself for mediocrity. This is not mysticism, this is basic psychology. Your thoughts create emotions, your emotions create actions, your actions create results. And the most powerful time to influence this entire chain is right before you sleep, because that is when your conscious mind steps aside and your subconscious mind takes over. That is when the real work happens. That is when beliefs are formed, when habits are reinforced, when the trajectory of your life is quietly being set. So the question is not whether you are programming your mind before sleep. The question is what you are programming it with. And for most people, the answer is chaos, noise, negativity, regret. They are programming themselves to stay stuck. And then they wake up and wonder why they feel stuck. They wonder why motivation is so hard to find. They wonder why discipline feels impossible. And the answer is simple. You cannot create order in your life if you go to sleep with disorder in your mind. I want you to imagine something. Imagine going to bed tonight with a clear mind. No noise, no worry, no mental gymnastics trying to solve problems that do not exist yet. Just clarity, just peace, just one simple thought that you choose deliberately, one thought that reflects who you want to become, not who you are afraid you are. Imagine how that would feel. Imagine waking up from that kind of sleep. Do you think your day would be different? Do you think your energy would be different? Do you think your decisions would be different? Of course they would. Because the person who goes to bed in chaos wakes up in chaos, but the person who goes to bed in peace wakes up with power. Now let me be clear about something. This is not about pretending your problems do not exist. This is not about toxic positivity or lying to yourself. If you have real challenges in your life, ignoring them before sleep will not make them go away, but obsessing over them will not help either. In fact, obsessing over problems in the moments before sleep is one of the least productive things you can do, because your mind is not in a state to solve problems at that time. It is in a state to absorb, to record, to internalize. So if you feed it problems, all you are doing is making those problems feel bigger, heavier, more permanent. You are training yourself to see life as a series of obstacles instead of opportunities. The alternative is not to ignore your challenges. The alternative is to reframe them, to think about them in a way that empowers you instead of paralyzes you. Instead of thinking about everything that went wrong today, think about what you learned. Instead of worrying about what might go wrong tomorrow, think about who you want to be when you face it. Instead of replaying your mistakes, visualize yourself making better choices. This is not fantasy. This is preparation. This is how high performers think. This is how disciplined people operate. They do not wait for their minds to randomly land on a positive thought. They choose it. They direct it. They take responsibility for the content of their own consciousness. And here is what happens when you do this consistently. Your sleep improves, not because you are sleeping more hours, but because the quality of your sleep changes. Your mind stops racing. Your body stops holding tension. Your nervous system starts to trust that rest is safe, that you do not need to be on high alert even in sleep. And over time, you start to wake up with more energy, more clarity, more confidence, not because your external circumstances changed, but because your internal state changed. And when your internal state changes, everything else follows. But it goes deeper than that. When you control your thoughts before sleep, you start to control your thoughts during the day. Because discipline is not something you turn on and off. It is a muscle. And every time you choose your last thought of the day instead of letting it choose you, you are strengthening that muscle. You are proving to yourself that you have power over your own mind. And that proof, that evidence carries over into everything else, into how you handle stress, into how you respond to criticism, into how you make decisions, into how you show up in your relationships, into how you pursue your goals. Most people are living at the mercy of their own thoughts. They wake up feeling however they happen to feel. They go through the day reacting to whatever happens to show up. They go to bed thinking about whatever happens to be on their mind. And they call this life. But this is not life. This is survival. This is drifting. This is being carried along by the current instead of steering the ship. And the tragedy is that most people do not even realize they have a choice. You have a choice. Every single night, you have a choice. You can lie down and let your mind run wild, or you can take control. You can replay your regrets, or you can plant seeds of change. You can worry about tomorrow, or you can prepare for it mentally. You can go to sleep as a victim of circumstance, or you can go to sleep as the author of your own story. This choice is yours. No one can make it for you. No one can take it from you. But if you do not make it consciously, your mind will make it for you. And I promise you, your mind left to itself will not choose peace. It will choose fear. It will choose doubt. It will choose the path of least resistance, which is always the path of worry. There is a reason why every great spiritual tradition, every philosophy of success, every system of mental discipline emphasizes the importance of evening reflection. It is not because it is trendy, it is because it works. The ancient Stoics practiced it. Religious mystics practiced it. Modern psychologists recommend it. And the reason is always the same. The last thought of the day shapes the first thought of tomorrow, and the first thought of tomorrow shapes your entire day. This is the chain of cause and effect. This is how small habits create massive results. This is how disciplined thinking compounds into a disciplined life. But here is the truth most people do not want to hear. This takes effort. It takes intention. It takes you interrupting your own pattern of mental laziness and saying, no, I am not going to let my mind wander into fear tonight. I am choosing something else. And at first, this feels unnatural, because your mind is used to running wild. It is used to chaos. It is used to being the master, while you are the servant. And when you try to reverse that dynamic, your mind will resist. It will throw up every worry, every doubt, every distraction it can find. It will tell you this does not matter, that you are too tired, that you will start tomorrow. And if you believe it, you will stay stuck. But if you persist, something shifts. Your mind starts to understand that you are serious. It starts to cooperate. It starts to quiet down when you tell it to. And over time, the effort becomes less, the peace becomes more, and what once felt like a struggle becomes a natural part of your rhythm. This is how all transformation works. It is hard at first. It gets easier with practice. And eventually it becomes automatic. But you have to start. And you have to start tonight. So let me give you something practical. Tonight, before you close your eyes, choose one thought. One deliberate thought. It does not have to be complicated. It does not have to be poetic. It just has to be yours. It could be gratitude for something simple. It could be a visualization of who you want to become. It could be a statement of identity. I am becoming more disciplined. I am learning to trust myself. I am building something meaningful. Whatever it is, make it clear. Make it real. Make it something that reflects the direction you want your life to move in. And then hold that thought as the last thing your conscious mind touches before sleep takes over. Do not let your phone be the last thing you see. Do not let worry be the last thing you feel. Do not let chaos be the last thing you think. Take back that moment, own it. Protect it, because that moment is not small. That moment is everything. That moment is where your tomorrow is born. And here is what will happen if you do this consistently. You will start to notice changes, small at first. You will wake up feeling slightly more rested. Your mood will be a little more stable. Your reactions will be a little more measured. And over time, these small changes will add up into something significant. You will start to feel like you are steering your life instead of being dragged along by it. You will start to make decisions from clarity instead of confusion. You will start to build momentum instead of constantly fighting resistance. And all of it will trace back to this one simple practice: choosing your last thought of the day. This is not a miracle cure. This is not going to solve all your problems overnight, but it is a starting point. It is a declaration that you are no longer willing to live at the mercy of your own mind. It is a statement that you are taking responsibility for your mental state. And that responsibility, that ownership, is the foundation of everything else. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control what you think about before you sleep. And if you control that, you start to control everything. I have watched people transform their entire lives by changing this one thing. I have seen people overcome anxiety, break through procrastination, rebuild their confidence, repair their relationships, and achieve goals they thought were impossible. And it always starts the same way. It starts with them taking back control of their own minds. It starts with them refusing to go to bed in chaos. It starts with them planting better seeds in the garden of their consciousness. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not doomed to struggle forever. You are simply unaware of how much power you have over your own mental state. And the moment you become aware, the moment you start to use that power deliberately, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because you change. And when you change, the world responds. So tonight, do something different. Do not let your mind run wild. Do not replay your mistakes. Do not rehearse your fears. Choose one thought, one clear, deliberate, empowering thought, and let that be the last thing you think before sleep. Let that be the seed you plant, and then watch what grows. Watch how your mornings feel different. Watch how your energy shifts. Watch how your decisions improve. Watch how your life begins to align with who you are becoming instead of who you used to be. This is not about perfection. Some nights you will forget. Some nights your mind will be too loud. Some nights the worry will win. That is okay. This is not about being perfect. This is about being intentional. This is about trying. This is about making the choice more often than you do not. And over time, that choice becomes a habit, and that habit becomes your character, and that character becomes your destiny. The truth is, most people never take control of their minds. They spend their entire lives being tossed around by whatever thought happens to be loudest. They go to bed in chaos and wake up in confusion. They live in a constant state of mental noise and wonder why they cannot find peace. And then they blame external circumstances. They blame their job, their family, their past, their situation. But the real problem is internal. The real problem is that they never learn to direct their own thoughts. They never learn that the mind is a tool, not a master. They never learn that peace is not found, it is chosen. Every single night, you are different. Or at least you can be. You can be the person who goes to bed with intention. You can be the person who plants seeds of growth instead of weeds of worry. You can be the person who wakes up with clarity instead of confusion. You can be the person who builds a life from the inside out instead of being shaped by the outside in. But it starts tonight. It starts with one thought, one choice, one moment of taking back control. The mind you have tomorrow is the mind you build tonight. The person you become is the person you rehearse in your thoughts before sleep. The life you live is the life you program yourself for in those final moments of consciousness. So make them count. Make them deliberate. Make them yours. Now let me tell you something about the nature of the human mind that most people never fully understand. Your brain does not distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. When you lie in bed replaying an argument from years ago, your nervous system responds as if that argument is happening right now. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, stress hormones flood your bloodstream, and your subconscious records this experience as present reality, not past memory. This is why people who constantly relive their traumas continue to be traumatized. This is why people who rehearse their fears continue to be afraid. They are not remembering pain. They are recreating it. Every single night. And the opposite is also true. When you visualize success, when you imagine yourself handling challenges with grace, when you picture the person you want to become, your brain begins to create neural pathways that support that reality. This is not wishful thinking. This is neuroplasticity. This is how Olympic athletes train. This is how surgeons prepare for complex procedures. This is how anyone who performs at a high level conditions their mind for excellence. They do not wait for the moment to arrive and hope they are ready. They rehearse it mentally over and over until their brain knows what to do before their body even moves. But most people use this incredible power in reverse. They rehearse failure. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They practice being anxious, being overwhelmed, being defeated, and then they are shocked when their lives reflect exactly what they have been programming themselves for. This is not bad luck. This is not the universe being against you. This is simple cause and effect. You become what you practice. And if you practice fear before sleep, you will wake up afraid. I want you to understand something fundamental about the way your mind works. Your subconscious does not understand sarcasm. It does not understand jokes. It does not know the difference between what you say as a passing comment and what you mean as a core belief. When you lie in bed and think, "I am such an idiot. I always mess everything up. Nobody respects me," your subconscious hears that as instruction, and it begins to shape your behavior to match those instructions. It causes you to hesitate when you should speak up. It causes you to second guess when you should be confident. It causes you to sabotage opportunities because deep down you have told yourself you do not deserve them. This is the invisible prison most people live in. They do not realize they are the architect of their own limitations. They think their anxiety is just part of who they are. They think their self-doubt is realistic. They think their lack of confidence is justified by their past failures. But it is not. It is programming. And programming can be changed, but only if you take control of the programmer. And the programmer is you. Specifically, the version of you that thinks the last thought before sleep. Here is another truth that will change your life if you truly understand it. The person you are right now is not the person you have to be tomorrow. You are not fixed. You are not stuck. You are not defined by your past. Every single night, when you go to sleep, you have the opportunity to die to the old version of yourself and be reborn as someone new, not dramatically, not completely, but incrementally. One thought at a time, one choice at a time, one night at a time. And over the course of months and years, those incremental changes add up to a complete transformation. But most people do not take advantage of this opportunity. They go to bed as the same person they were yesterday. They think the same thoughts. They rehearse the same fears. They reinforce the same limitations. And they wake up as the same person they have always been. And then they wonder why their lives never change. They wonder why they feel stuck in the same patterns, the same relationships, the same level of success. And the answer is simple. You cannot expect different results from the same programming. I have spent my entire adult life studying human behavior, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the people who succeed in life, the people who overcome obstacles, the people who build meaningful careers and relationships and legacies are not smarter than everyone else. They are not luckier. They are not more talented. They are simply more intentional about what they allow into their minds. They guard their thoughts like a soldier guards a fortress. They understand that their mind is their most valuable asset, and they do not let just anything take up residence there. And this discipline is most important in the moments before sleep, because that is when your guard is down. That is when you are most vulnerable. That is when the negative thoughts slip in under the radar and set up camp in your subconscious. This is why people who are confident during the day often struggle with anxiety at night. Because during the day they are busy, distracted, defended. But at night, when the noise stops and the distractions fade, the truth comes out. The truth of what they really believe about themselves. And for most people, that truth is painful, but it does not have to be, and you can change what you believe about yourself. You can rewrite the story you tell yourself before sleep. You can replace fear with faith. You can replace doubt with determination. You can replace regret with resolve, but you have to do it consciously. You have to do it deliberately. You have to interrupt the automatic pattern and insert a new one. And yes, at first it will feel forced. It will feel like you are lying to yourself. It will feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort is just the feeling of growth. That is the feeling of old patterns being disrupted and new ones being formed. And if you push through that discomfort, If you persist even when it feels unnatural, eventually the new pattern becomes automatic, and then you are free. Let me tell you about a man I once knew who struggled with insomnia for years. He would lie awake for hours every night, his mind racing with worries about work, about money, about relationships, about health. He tried everything: sleep medication, meditation apps, weighted blankets, white noise machines. Nothing worked. And the reason nothing worked is because he was treating the symptom instead of the cause. The cause was not his sleep. The cause was his thoughts. He was going to bed with a mind full of problems and expecting his body to relax. It was like trying to fall asleep on a battlefield. So I told him to try something different. I told him to choose one thought before sleep. Just one. It could be anything he wanted as long as it was not a worry. It could be gratitude for his family. It could be pride in something he accomplished that day. It could be a vision of the life he wanted to build. It did not matter what the thought was, as long as it was intentional. And I told him to hold that thought as he fell asleep, not to force it, not to obsess over it, just to gently bring his mind back to that thought whenever it wandered into worry. He was skeptical. He thought it was too simple, but he tried it anyway. And within a week, his sleep improved. Not perfectly, not immediately, but noticeably. He started falling asleep faster. He started waking up less during the night. And over time, his entire relationship with sleep changed, because he was no longer at war with his own mind. He was working with it instead of against it. He was programming it for rest instead of programming it for anxiety. And the benefits extended far beyond sleep. His mood improved, his work performance improved, his relationships improved. Because when you sleep better, you think better. When you think better, you decide better. When you decide better, you live better. It is all connected, and it all starts with that one thought before sleep. Now I want to address something that might be going through your mind right now. You might be thinking, this sounds good in theory, but my problems are real. I have legitimate reasons to worry. I have actual challenges in my life that need solving. And you are right. Your problems are real. Your challenges are legitimate. But here is what you need to understand. Worrying about them before sleep does not solve them. It does not make them smaller. It does not make you more prepared. It makes them bigger. It makes them heavier. It makes them feel impossible. Because when you think about problems in a state of exhaustion, your perspective becomes distorted. Everything feels worse than it is. Solutions that would be obvious during the day become invisible at night. This is why the most successful people I have ever met have a rule about problem solving. They do not do it before sleep. They do not allow themselves to think about challenges when their minds are tired and their emotions are raw. Instead, they table those thoughts until morning. They trust that their rested, clear-headed morning self will be far more capable of handling problems than their exhausted, anxious night self. And they are right, the problems that feel overwhelming at night often feel manageable in the morning. Not because the problems changed, but because your state of mind changed. So when worry tries to creep in before sleep, acknowledge it. Do not fight it. Do not pretend it is not there. Just acknowledge it and say, I will think about this tomorrow when I am rested and clear. For now I am choosing peace. This is not avoidance. This is wisdom. This is understanding that there is a time and place for everything, and the moments before sleep are not the time for problem solving. They are the time for rest, for recovery, for renewal. And you cannot renew yourself if you are replaying problems over and over in your mind. I also want you to understand that this practice is not just about feeling better. It is about becoming better. Because the thoughts you think before sleep do not just affect your mood. They affect your character. They shape who you are at the deepest level. When you go to bed with thoughts of gratitude, you become a more grateful person. When you go to bed with thoughts of courage, you become a braver person. When you go to bed with thoughts of purpose, you become a more purposeful person. This is not magic, this is repetition. This is the slow, steady accumulation of small choices that eventually define who you are. Most people underestimate the power of repetition. They think change requires dramatic action, grand gestures, complete overhauls of their entire life. But that is not how lasting change works. Lasting change comes from small, consistent actions repeated over time. It comes from choosing the right thought before sleep, night after night, until that thought becomes a belief, and that belief becomes an action, and that action becomes a habit, and that habit becomes your identity. This is why I'm so passionate about this practice, because I have seen it work. I have seen it transform people who thought they were beyond help. I have seen it give hope to people who were drowning in despair. I have seen it restore confidence to people who had given up on themselves, and it always starts the same way. One thought, one night, one choice to take back control. But you have to be patient with yourself. You have to understand that this is a practice, not a performance. Some nights will be easier than others. Some nights your mind will cooperate. Some nights it will rebel. Some nights you will remember to choose your thought. Some nights you will forget. And that is okay. This is not about being perfect. This is about progress. This is about trying. This is about moving in the right direction, even if the movement is slow, even if the path is not straight. And here is something beautiful that happens when you commit to this practice. Over time, you start to notice patterns. You start to see which thoughts serve you and which ones do not. You start to become aware of the mental habits that keep you stuck and the mental habits that move you forward. And this awareness is powerful, because once you see the pattern, you can change it. Once you understand how your mind works, you can work with it instead of against it. Once you realize that you are not your thoughts, that you are the observer of your thoughts, you gain a level of freedom that most people never experience. This is what I call mental sovereignty. It is the ability to choose what you think rather than being chosen by your thoughts. It is the ability to direct your attention rather than having your attention hijacked by whatever is loudest or most urgent. It is the ability to program yourself for success rather than being programmed by your environment, your past, or your fears. And this sovereignty is not something you are born with. It is something you build. One deliberate thought at a time. One conscious choice at a time. One night before sleep at a time. So let me ask you a question. What do you want to become? Not what do you want to achieve? Not what do you want to have, but who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to see when you look in the mirror? What kind of character do you want to build? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? These are the questions that matter. These are the questions that should guide your thoughts before sleep, because the person you become is far more important than anything you accomplish. Your character will outlast your achievements. Your integrity will outlast your success. And both are built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you are alone with your thoughts, when you have the choice to program yourself for greatness or settle for mediocrity. And here is the reality that most people avoid. Settling for mediocrity is easy. It requires no effort. It requires no discipline. It requires no courage. All you have to do is nothing. All you have to do is let your mind run wild, let your thoughts be random, let your programming be accidental. And mediocrity will be the result. But greatness, excellence, fulfillment, peace, purpose, these require intention, they require discipline. They require you to take responsibility for your own mind. And that responsibility begins and ends with the thought you choose before sleep. I've been teaching these principles for decades, and I can tell you that the people who apply them are the ones who change. The people who just nod along and then go back to their old habits stay stuck. And the difference between the two is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is commitment. It is the willingness to do the work even when it is uncomfortable, even when it feels unnatural, even when you are not sure it is working. Because the work always works. The practice always pays off. The discipline always delivers results. But only if you actually do it. Only if you show up night after night and choose your thought deliberately instead of letting it be chosen for you. So tonight, you have a decision to make. You can close your eyes and let your mind wander wherever it wants to go. Let your thoughts be random. Let your programming be accidental. Or you can take control. You can choose one thought, one clear intention, one deliberate seed to plant in the garden of your consciousness. And if you do that tonight and tomorrow night and the night after that, I promise you, your life will change, not instantly, not magically, but steadily, surely, inevitably, because that is how transformation works. It happens in the moments when you think no one is watching. It happens in the choices you make when you are alone. It happens in the thoughts you think before sleep. And those thoughts, those small, quiet, seemingly insignificant thoughts, are the ones that build empires or create prisons. The choice is yours. Think this before you sleep, and your mind will never be the same, not because of what I told you, but because of what you chose, and that choice, made consistently, will ripple out into every area of your life. It will change how you wake up. It will change how you show up. It will change how you respond to challenges. It will change how you treat people. It will change what you accomplish. It will change who you become. All from one thought, the right thought, at the right time, every single night. So choose well, choose deliberately, choose with the future you want in mind. And watch your mind transform, watch your life transform, starting tonight.